been waiting way too long. Yeah, I've been down here trying to get it. Yeah, I've been waiting way too long.
This is the video for chapter 11, section 4. We're going to be looking at circumference and arc length. So chapter 11 is all about length and area, and I wanted to start with circles. So the circumference of this circle is found by multiplying pi times the radius times 2. The reason that those equations both can be used is because remember that the diameter equals 2 times the radius. And so instead of multiplying 2 times the radius, we can just multiply it by the diameter. So make sure you understand that those are interchangeable. So circumference is the distance around a circle. Okay, so the circumference is the distance around a circle. And again, this is the formula. So it's pretty straightforward. So if I say that the radius of this circle is 8 inches, then in order to find the circumference, I just plug it into my formula, 2 pi times 8. We are going to use the pi button in the calculator. We are not going to round to 3.14. But I need to simplify this first. 2 times 8 is 16. So I would actually be okay if you left your answer like that, 16 pi. That is the most accurate answer because, again, when I multiply that in my calculator, even if I use the pi button, I would get an estimated answer. It would be about 50.266. But again, I actually want you to leave your answer in terms of pi. And that may be the most difficult thing in working with these type of problems is understanding how to do that. Now, if I give you the diameter of a circle, you should still be able to tell me what the circumference is. So let's say that the diameter of this circle is 12 centimeters. Then in order to find the circumference, I could just plug it into this formula. Circumference equals 12 pi, just literally pi times diameter. Would be no different if I had the radius. I would just be working it in a different way. The next thing we're going to look at is arc length. This is different than measure in degrees. Okay, so last chapter we talked about the measure of an arc. So if this is arc AB, we talked about if this is 95 degrees, then the measure of arc AB is also 95 degrees because that is a central angle. Okay, so now we're talking about arc length. So arc length is basically the portion of the circle, the portion of the circumference that the arc is. So when we do this, you can see that we are going to use the measure of the arc in degrees. Okay, so this is in degrees. And we're writing that as a fraction over 360 because remember the sum the degrees in a circle is 360. So basically what we're saying is what fraction of the circle is arc AB? So let's go ahead and work this out. So we're going to go 95 degrees over 360. Then we're going to multiply that fraction times the circumference, 2 pi r. So I need to tell you what the radius is. So we're going to say that the radius is 7 units. So our r is going to be 7. So again, 95 over 360 times 2 pi times 7. 2 times 7 is 14, so 95 over 360 times 14 pi. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what 95 divided by 360 is. And we are going to, what we're going to do is we're going to not write down what 95 over 360 is, but we're going to just take that answer and immediately multiply by 14, which gives me 3.694 pi. So again, what I did was I did 95 over 360 and then I multiplied by 14, and that gives me this. And I'm not going to multiply by pi in the calculator because I want to leave my answer in terms of pi because it's more accurate. This is still an estimate because I did have to round that. So that is still an estimate, but if we actually multiply by pi and then round again, it's going to be basically a worse estimate. So that's how you would leave your answer. So if I have a circle and I have this arc that is 90 degrees, so the measure of arc CD is 90 degrees, that is 1/4 of the circle, which means the arc length of arc CD is going to be equal to 1/4 of the circumference, which is 2 times pi times 12. So it's going to be 1/4 of 2 times 12 is 24 pi. And 1/4 of 24 is 6, so the answer would be 6 pi. So we get a really pretty answer there. Again, where did this 1/4 come from? The 1/4 came from 90 over 360 can be simplified to 1/4. Just like you can clearly see that that looks like 1/4 of the circle. If you're looking at the semicircle, remember that's half the circle. So the semicircle arc length is going to be half of the circumference of the circle. So that is circumference and arc length, again, different than the measure of an arc, but notice we do use the degree measure of the arc to find the actual arc length.
I've been waiting way too long.